All right, everybody. Welcome. We have a name. This is the biggest news so far of this podcast. We actually have a name. Exciting. We took it to the people on Twitter, and I think we better give a shout out to our friend Jimmy.
Jimmy, thank you.
Having never seen the show. He's never seen Friday Night Lights. But he pulled through for us. So Anthony, why don't you give us the big unveil here? As if people don't know, because they're on episode 5.
We're recording this where we haven't technically released episode 1 yet.
No,
so if you've been listening to the last 4 episodes and hearing us talk about the untitled podcast. You already know what the title is, and you're like, what the hell is up with these guys? But we are officially going with Reliving the Lights.
Yeah.
Friday Night Lights Rewatch podcast.
Yeah. It's just got a little, I don't know. It just struck just the right way. I feel like it's a little catchy. You still got kind of the Friday Night Lights, like 3-syllable. Well, it's not 3 syllables, so that doesn't work, but 3 words.
Yeah.
Reliving the Lights. So RTL, you can just affectionately call our podcast RTL now, like an FNL podcast. So yeah, we finally settled on it. I feel like we're legit now, as I, prepared for release tomorrow and had an actual name to like type into the podcast name blanks. That was nice. That felt good.
We have officially arrived.
Yep. So we are on episode 5 this week. Git'er Done is the name of the podcast, which bums me out. I feel like Larry the Cable Guy, even in 2006, was kind of old news. So why Git'er Done? I'm not sure. Am I correct in that? Like, wasn't Larry the Cable Guy kind of past the prime there?
I'd have to probably look into dates specifically because, Cars came out in 2006. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. So that was the same year. So he was pretty hot actually in 2006.
That's true.
Arguably. But I'd have to think about, I know when I was still in high school, the whole blue collar comedy tour thing was still big. Like I remember sitting in Mr. McCuska's class and people like shouting out jokes from that bit. Another Platt reference for those keeping track at home. I've lost count of how many, but
so blue collar comedy tour, does that mean that there is an episode You Might Be a Redneck coming up and like
here's your sign?
Yeah, here's your sign. It's Bill Engvall. And then wasn't there something with tater salad? Tater salad. So we'll be looking for that.
We'll be keeping our eyes up for those other homages.
Okay, out of the 4 of those comedians, who do you prefer?
There's Ron White for sure. Ron White is pretty he's clearly an outlier. I think of those 4,
he has a Southern accent, and that's why he fits.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, it's a very different flavor of comedy than I think the other 3. It's not as cheap. Like the laughs don't come as cheap.
I do like Ron White. I have childhood affinity for Bill Engvall because one of my friends, Austin Ringling, had
shout out Austin Ringling, friend of the show.
Definitely, and I'm pretty sure Austin loves Friday Night Lights, so I'm assuming you're listening, Austin. But he had the Dorkfish album, which was fantastic, and I literally still listen to it and still quote it regularly. And it's one of those things that you forget you're quoting.
Yep.
You're like, oh, why did I say that? Oh yeah, Dorkfish by Bill Engvall. So.
He had a couple of music videos on CMT when I was big into watching CMT. So I remember
Channel 31 on Platt's cable lineup.
Pre-2002 cable package.
Shifted then, yeah.
And I remember that was when I was really in my country music phase and in my, music video phase, which never actually ended. The beginning of my music video phase.
Yes.
And I remember I still remember I thought it was so funny. There's a line in the Here's Your Sign song where it's guy drove went to test drive a car and he drove around the block 2 or 3 times and grabbed the tailpipe. And I remember being that's the funniest thing I've ever heard as a 8-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's the Blue Collar Comedy Tour section of the podcast to get us started. Glad we could touch on that. What are you drinking tonight for our recording session?
Just a classic Grain Belt Premium.
Right on. Looks delicious.
Yourself?
I picked up a Lake Time Brewery Haze of Our Lives, which is a New England hazy IPA. I'm a fan of the hazy IPAs. I know true beer snobs kind of look down their nose at it because it's like a lazy IPA, I guess, like to make it. But I think they're delicious. And I was kind of over the whole IPA thing, but the haziness brings me back into it. So Lake Time Brewery. All right. So we got our beverages. We've talked about Blue Collar Comedy Tour. So I guess that means we can get started with Git'er Done.
Originally actual episode.
Yeah. Originally aired October 30 of 2006, episode 5. So do you have the IMDb in front of you? I have it pulled up and I really appreciate it, but I'd love for you to read it.
While only 2 days away from their next game, Coach Taylor still doesn't know who to start at quarterback, and Jason still doesn't know that his best friend is spending a whole lot of time with his girlfriend.
I love how that there's only 2 things they focus on in that summary. These are all user submitted, right? So
I think so.
We should be submitting our own synopses to IMDb. But I have no complaints about this one. It's not very specific, but Jason still doesn't know his best friend is spending a lot of time with his girlfriend. It's pretty good. So
I think it's vague in all the right ways.
Yes. So speaking of spending a lot of time with his girlfriend, this episode starts out, Lila's getting ready for a run. It looks like, she's taking control of her life and turning a corner, and she goes downstairs and her mom's just so happy that she's doing something for herself, going out for a run. And you feel really good for Lila. She takes off running. I would like to point out she has terrible running form, like classic high school girl gym class running form. And then she turns the corner and goes right up to Tim Riggins' house.
Straight to the Riggins household.
Yep. So she goes for the hookup there.
She does there's like a special moment where she runs up to the Riggins house and we see the sign out front that's like, number whatever, Tim Riggins 33.
33, yep.
Same as Scottie Pippen, you gotta love that. And you see it, and she kind of like is about to knock on the door, and then she does a quick hesitation.
Oh yeah.
Where she kind of like steps away, and then she's like,
"Oh yeah, nah, I'm going for it." She's apparently very done with Jason, at least in her own mind. We find out she's still hanging on to it in public, which I feel like that was a lot shorter than I remember it being. I feel like in my mind she held on to the Jason thing for a lot longer, but she's pretty much done with that. Yeah,
I had thought too, like even in episode 3, they first kiss, right?
Mm-hmm.
And watching through, I was like, wow, I thought this happened like mid-season.
Yeah.
I realized this happened so fast.
No time. Yeah. So the town, Dillon, is basically everyone's waiting to hear who is going to start at quarterback for the Dillon Panthers on Friday. I had forgot that we were still on Arnett Meade.
Yeah.
In my mind, like we had already played that game. And so I was very confused when Smash was talking about like at the pep rally, one of his freestyle rhymes was about trashing their locker room. And I was like, no, that was last week. It was Arnett Meade. But no,
it was bye week last week.
Yes, we're still on rivalry week.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, everyone's still waiting to hear who's going to start. We get a little bit of that talk radio, people calling in what's going on.
And while the Taylor family is driving down the road and listening to talk radio, Julie is going down like through a list of classifieds of coaching jobs available.
Yeah, showing a lot of
outside
confidence.
Of Texas.
Yes. Okay. And I've never noticed this before. And spoiler alert, if you've never watched the series before, maybe just shut your ears for the next 20 seconds. But she mentioned Seattle specifically. And isn't that where they end up? Don't they end up in Washington? Because I remember thinking, that's not a place I think about football.
Boy, I don't know. It's been so long since I've watched season 5 that I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like at the end of season 5, that's where they end up going. And in fact, Tammy says, do they even have football in Seattle? So I feel like this is like a little foreshadowing of
I wonder if it was accidental foreshadowing. I have a feeling they didn't know that it would go there.
I don't think they knew it, but maybe at the end of the series they were like, remember when we said that about Seattle? Let's go back to that. So
somebody was watching season 1 episode 5 for some reason. They're like, hey,
yeah, here we go.
Somebody's gonna pick up on this.
Yes. So I guess we'll have to wait and see until episode probably like 70 for us on this podcast, where they end up. But
which is, I'm really excited to get, because pretty much everything not quite past season 2 is going to be close to new to me, because it's been so long since I've watched those last 3 seasons. So
yeah,
I know that I've watched them all at least once, and I'm excited to watch them all again. But like, that's going to be a real journey for me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I've watched these episodes we've seen so far repeatedly, but there are still things that I was like, that's right. So maybe they end up in Seattle. We shall see. Coach calls Voodoo in to talk in his office, and Voodoo kind of keeps it real. And he gives like the classic reality show line of, I'm not here to make friends. That whole thing.
Gives him kind of a classic, like, I don't need you, but you need me.
Yep.
Talk to Coach.
Yep. Yeah. Implies that he knows that Coach needs to get wins. And so it's up to him if he wants to start Voodoo or start Saracen, but implies pretty heavily that it's a pretty obvious choice if he wants to get those wins. So pretty confrontational right from the get going. And even Coach is like, we haven't talked much. We haven't had a chance. It's been really busy. So, let's kind of talk this through. And yeah, Voodoo's just not really having it. So the confrontation starts already.
Then we start to see kind of a budding bromance between Smash and Matt Saracen, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, for sure. Two super opposite dudes, but
yes,
they're vibing.
There's a great Smash quote that's going to be up for my quote of the week, but not my quote of the week. So I'm just going to say it right now, where somebody asks about Lila and Smash goes, Lila, what about Smash, baby? Don't forget my boy, Matty Saracen.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but
yeah, I remember, like, and I think it was like somebody genuinely concerned about Lila, and Smash just turns around and he's just like, Lila, what about Smash, baby?
There's nobody else in the world that you need to concern yourself with other than me.
However, do not forget his boy, Matty Saracen.
Yeah. There's another line from that scene that I noted, but did not make my quote of the week list. But Smash, a girl's walking away, and he says, "Hey, girl, where are you going? Why don't you come on back here and bless me?"
Yes.
His interactions with women are offensive and hilarious.
I can't believe that I didn't write that one down. Because I definitely remember it, like, laughing at it. I don't know why I didn't write it down. Yes, I'm glad that you did.
Come on back here and bless me. We find out that Tyra apparently works at an Applebee's, and she meets this oil scientist guy from Los Angeles. Yeah.
And Applebee's, I remember that they like kind of sponsored the show. They kind of were part of keeping it afloat. Maybe the only good thing Applebee's has ever done.
Yeah,
is be part of the Great Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, I don't know how big of an Office person you are, but they also were very heavily involved with The Office and like helped them out a lot with filming on location and being willing to like actually have true Applebee's staff act in those episodes that like were the Dundies basically took place there. So Applebee's, really stepping up for NBC shows that I love. So thank you, Applebee's, for your contributions.
Yeah, I've only watched The Office through once, and I hate everything after season 5. But
fair.
But now that you say that, I do remember the Dundies episode that takes place in Applebee's. So now that all makes sense.
Yeah. Pam's classic line of I just feel God in this Applebee's tonight. really good. No, oh my gosh. It's Chili's. It's Chili's.
Oh, is it?
I feel like an idiot now. Somebody was yelling into their podcast app like, you moron.
Somebody's furious. We just lost a listener.
Dang it. I'm sorry. This is a Friday Night Lights podcast, not an Office podcast. I would have got it right shoot. Sorry, folks. But Tyra works at Applebee's. She meets this dude who's in town to work on the oil fields. We just get a little taste of that. Then we get a scene of Jason in rehab, and I felt pretty horrible for him. You see this former star quarterback, best in the nation, and he is like sitting 4 feet away from another guy who's in rehab, and they're tossing a beach ball back and forth. And it just felt like pretty humiliating for him. He had a good attitude about it, kind of made that joke about the guy running her out and hitting the post and all that. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good work on behalf of the writers to kind of juxtapose the standard of who Jason was before and where he's at now.
Yeah. So following that, we cut back to Tyra, and she's getting off work at Applebee's, and this oil scientist guy comes back, kind of mentions, is this where he tells her what he does? Yeah. And he's like, and then he invites her out to the oil fields. She accepts. At this point, we kind of her
company.
Yeah, I get a real Predator vibe from this guy.
Yeah,
big time. Considering Tyra is like a sophomore in high school,
right? She's like 15, maybe. Yeah. She straight up tells him, "I'm not going to sleep with you." Oh no! I just enjoy your company. Is his line. I think let's just cover that whole storyline right now instead of hopping back and forth. So eventually, they have plans to get dinner together, like the next night or whatever. We find out that the oily guy, that's how I refer to him in my notes, oily guy.
Connor.
Connor, yes. Which is kind of an oily name to begin with.
We just lost the Connor crowd.
God, dang it.
We just alienated the Connors.
I am killing our listenership. I'm sorry. But we find out that his boss is calling him back to LA like Saturday. Like if they're meeting on Friday night. I don't know what day of the week it is, but anyway, basically the morning after they're supposed to have dinner together, he's leaving, but they still decide to go through with it. Tyra shows up for the date
at the hotel room.
Yep, she's looking nice, and she basically jumps him, and they do not go to dinner. They just hang out there for the evening, and
Tyra wakes up in the hotel bed alone.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and we kind of have a moment where we're like, ugh, scumbag.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as if we weren't already thinking that. Once again, a 15-year-old girl.
Right. It's easy to forget that. But I think we need to keep going back to this 15-year-old girl. This guy has a job that you can only get after a college education. So he's got to be 24
at least
minimum.
Mid-20s for sure.
Yes.
But turns out he was just getting breakfast. And so he brings her breakfast, and we think, okay, maybe this guy is, only 80% scumbag instead of 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But then he also goes on to reveal that back in LA, he is in a relationship. Right. So, Connor is a scumbag.
Connor's a scumbag. He's taken off. I feel like you can even hear it in our voices. We speak very tenderly and carefully about Tyra. But yeah, which is a reason why this whole kind of episode is a bummer for Tyra. Like, I just feel bad for her. She tries to play it off like it's no big deal, but it is. So that's kind of that whole storyline. We don't need to come back to that.
Yeah.
It wasn't super important, except just to reinforce that Tyra gets taken advantage of. She puts herself out there. She gets taken advantage of. She's looking for love and affirmation and stuff like that, but people just kind of use her.
In all the wrong places.
Somewhere in there, Jason goes and gets a glimpse of quad rugby. So that's kind of the first we see of that. And you can tell that he's interested. There's a scene that in my notes, it says Lila is back on her BS with Mrs. Coach. Planning for college. Mrs. Coach calls her in for a meeting and they're planning for college. And Lila is talking about, she needs to take into account that Jason will be playing college football and it'll be really busy and stuff like that. And Mrs. Coach kind of calls her on that a little bit. Like,
So you need a backup plan because...
Yeah. So I'm a little confused by that because in a scene soon after that, Lila is back at Tim's house.
They have just finished hooking up and Riggins like kind of tries to play boyfriend with Lila.
Yeah, he tries to show some like legitimate, concern and interest in her life. Lila's not having it.
Mm-mm.
She shuts that down. She's feeling real guilty. She is pretty big jerk to Tim, who is for once in his life trying to show some like genuine care for someone. I think, like genuinely cares for Lila. Like this is different for him, I think, than it is for Lila. But yeah, Lila shuts him down. She's like, let's not pretend this is something that it's not. Somewhere in there, Coach and Mac, Coach Taylor and Coach Mac have a confrontation and it's very tense.
Yeah, he's Coach Mac is copying the playbook, right, for Voodoo because Voodoo keeps borrowing his playbook.
Mm-hmm. Coach Mac very pro Voodoo camp.
Yes, he wants to win, just like everybody else in Dylan has basically sold his soul morally for high school football wins.
Yes. Yep. And so that's very tense. And then we get a scene a little bit later of Coach and Tammy kind of processing the decision of who's going to start together.
Real great Coach and Tammy moment.
Yep. Again, Coach and Tammy relationship goals for sure. Tammy asks him, so like, what's the decision? What are you thinking?
Yeah. Basically says, I can't start Saracen because Saracen, isn't as good as Voodoo. I can't start Voodoo because Voodoo basically hates the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And then Mrs. Coach chimes in with a start me.
Yeah. Oh, hadn't thought of that one. Perfect. Yeah. But eventually Coach breaks it to Matt that Voodoo is starting. Voodoo's going to start the game, which Matt has this like, before Coach can tell him, Matt has this really earnest, like, I'm ready for this, Coach. I can do it. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. And then Coach breaks it to him. Voodoo is starting. So there's a pep rally. Smash does his rap thing.
Smash is hamming it up again. I don't know if you caught this, but I did make a note of it at the beginning. Like one of the first shots of the pep rally is of Landry, and he lets out like a hearty, like, Yahoo!
Which makes sense for Landry. Like, I feel like he'd give out, whether it's serious or ironic, I don't know, but Yahoo seems perfect for him.
Yeah.
Smash does another freestyle. I wrote down a couple rhymes from that. They want to trash our locker room. We fitting to hit them with a sonic boom. The Panthers going to have the last laugh because we're going to break our foot off in there. And then it like trails off and doesn't finish. So they self-censored that one. But again, not sure exactly what he's doing there. It's not really a freestyle rap. He's just saying rhyming words, but that's the pep rally, and people are pretty hyped about it. We get the team visiting Street in rehab on the way to the game. They all kind of file through. Lila is the first one through, and Jason is like, "You're going to be late for the game. What are you doing here?" And then Coach comes in, and the rest of the team files through. And then we have a moment. It is a moment.
Yes.
Tim Riggins is the last person in line to come through, and as he enters the room, Tim starts crying, and Street starts crying, and I start crying.
Yeah, it's a very, very emotional moment.
Yep.
And Tim's kind of gives him like a, where you been?
Mm-hmm.
And Riggins, like seeing Tim Riggins like that is, he's like can barely contain himself. It's a very powerful moment.
It was good. So finally Tim makes it in to see Jason. So that's good. Football game starts. It's not going well for the Panthers. Then Coach Taylor sends in a play, and Voodoo's like, hell nah. Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, starts calling his own plays.
Yep. And so he changes the play and it works. He basically keeps the ball. They score a touchdown. And obviously this does not go over well with Coach Taylor.
Yeah, coach is mad. Tammy gives one of her like extremely concerned looks from the sidelines that like I feel like is her signature move.
Yeah. And then after that play where Tatum scores a touchdown, he basically just goes full mutiny and starts doing his own thing. He throws a pick six. And so Panthers go into halftime, a touchdown down.
And mind you, in there, Riggins and Smash kind of give each other a knowing look as if to say, like, let's bungle this on purpose. Because screw this guy.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
That's an interesting wrinkle I did not pick up on.
Yeah, it's kind of a special moment because, yeah, they hate each other, but they both kind of give each other a look like,
yep,
screw this guy. We're gonna not do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and in this case, Tim and Smash are friends. Okay. So they go into halftime. They're in the locker room. Coach starts ripping into Voodoo, and Voodoo kind of puts his hands on him and kind of holds him back, pushes him back a little bit, and that's it. Coach has had enough, and he throws Voodoo out of the game. So Saracen takes over then after halftime. We cut to the fourth quarter. They're down by 7, and Panthers have to drive the field with like a minute and 45 left. I think they're like on the 20 or the 30. They're on 20 or 30.
You get a reverse play.
A reverse.
Tim Riggins.
On the 32-yard line. They run a reverse. Saracen throws just a beast of a block to kind of open it up. Yeah, so they're down to that's the touchdown, right?
Yeah, that's the touchdown.
Yeah, they run like a 30-yard reverse play, which is great.
They're down by 1.
I believe time expires.
Yes.
Of course it does. So now they are down by 6. And
the commentators are kind of like, hell, Coach Taylor, he'll take a tie for this, right. Just to come out of this with a tie is great because, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And Coach says, no, we're doing a 2-point conversion. And the commentary is shocked.
Yes. Yeah. Coach and Saracen kind of have this moment together. We're like, what, are we going to do this? Yeah, we're going to do this. I can do it, Coach. Give the ball to Smash. He's been doing it all game.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only did this come down to the last play of the game, just like every game so far, but this actually like came down to after regulation time.
Yes.
This came down to the extra point with 0 time left on the clock. So Matt runs the option, 18 option and he flips it to Smash, 2-point conversion. It's good. And I get the goosebumps hard at that point. So yeah,
once again, that on the tally of
yes. So far we're
3 for 3.
Last play of the game. Dillon Panthers have the most exciting games of any football team ever. And after the game, Matt and Julie kind of hit it off.
They have a couple of moments in this episode.
Yes.
There's an episode before I had it written down, and I wish I would have written more down. So I need to take even more concise notes than I'm taking.
Yeah.
Because I just, in between Tyra in the oil fields and Street and physical therapy, going to visit the quad rugby thing, I just wrote Julie and Matt moment.
Oh, right.
And I remember it was like outside practice. Of the, I think she could, like, Julie is looking for her dad or something.
Yep. Or her mom to get her driver's ed paper signed. And she asks if he's going to start. And Matt gives her like this really vague, politically correct answer. I trust the coach, whatever his decision. And she has this great line about like, I'm not ESPN, Matt, like chill out, which I thought was good. But yeah, they do. They start to have a couple moments here and it's nice. I like it. It's pretty feel good. So those two have a moment, and then Tim and Lila also exchange a little glance after the game. She seems pretty impressed with Tim's game-winning kind of run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty enamored by him, covertly, I guess.
Suddenly, also, everybody in town loves Coach again.
Oh my gosh. They're going nuts for both Coach and Matt Saracen.
Yes.
And if you watch like what actually happens at the game, basically Saracen is just handing the ball off to Smash over and over again. But man, they love him for it now because they got to win.
They got to win.
And not only is the town excited about Coach, but Coach is excited just in general. They have a scene on Saturday morning where he's macking on Mrs. Taylor right in front of Julie. Julie is pretty grossed out by it, but quote Coach Taylor, "We're gonna get down tonight," is what he says to Mrs. Taylor. Yeah. So he's feeling good.
But the good times don't last.
No, they do not.
And Coach is in his office and he looks out and he sees Buddy Garrity talking to a couple of fellows, and he goes out to investigate, and it turns out they're from like the Texas High School Athletics Association, and they're looking into Voodoo's eligibility. Why they're talking to Buddy Garrity about this, who knows?
Buddy Garrity's got his nose in everything.
Yes. But Coach is fuming at Buddy Garrity.
We'll come back to this with the sleazeball moment of the week. Buddy Garrity sleazeball. I was wondering in this episode, are we going to have a Buddy Garrity sleazeball moment of the week? Because I hadn't seen anything up until this. I think this is the very last scene of the episode. Yeah. And Buddy has this line. They're saying like, yeah, we're investigating Voodoo's eligibility, and if it turns out he's not eligible, then you're going to forfeit this win. You're going to lose this win. And Buddy's like, boy, I thought we had this all buttoned up, Coach. Yeah. Implying that it's Coach's fault.
He goes into like a real aw shucks. Yeah. Like,
boy, I didn't see this coming. Oh. Yeah, so he really coming in clutch with the sleazeball moment of the week on the last.
Yes, he certainly delivered.
And I think that that's the last scene of the episode.
That's the episode. Yep.
So I think that pretty much sums up the summary. Let's kind of revisit some of the characters here. What are the major developments? You know, who do we want to talk about this episode?
Yeah. So Tyra obviously has a big arc in this episode.
Yeah.
Which
pretty
is
detached from everything else, but
yeah. And it's
some background on Tyra.
From an audience perspective, it's a bummer, as we've kind of talked about.
You feel for her. You do. Mm-hmm. And I think this episode does a good job of doing that. It maybe would have been a little easier to hate on Tyra a little bit in the previous episodes, kind of blame her a little bit more for her own problems. But yeah, you feel for her a little bit because the dude is a creep. He's an oily dude.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
Yeah. Smash and Saracen, like you said, little bromance starting between the two of them.
Yes. Love that. Love the Smash and Saracen bromance a lot. I think that's great.
Because it's pretty much one way. Like Smash has now just decided that Saracen is his guy.
Yes.
And Saracen is just shucksing through all of it, which is kind of his move.
Yeah.
So yes, Smash has decided that Saracen is going to be the one, which I don't really get. I feel like Smash's actual character would be to go with a guy who gets wins, but Voodoo, Smash likes to be the man, and Voodoo demands to be the man if he is in charge. So I guess that's where that comes in.
But I also think, going back to my theory from episode 1 about how insanely athletic people, especially insanely athletic people in high school, can be as weird as they want to be.
Yes.
I think, and I won't name any names, but thinking about some people that we went to high school with who, and this is, I think Saracen reacts perfectly in the same way, where sometimes some of these guys would act like they were really good friends with like huge dorks. And they would just kind of be like, all right, I know what you're doing here. And Saracen almost plays it like that, except for Saracen is an actual athlete, so it's a little more genuine feeling. But
it seems like Saracen is kind of genuinely enjoying not necessarily Smash's attention, but he's starting to get like girls' attention and stuff like that. And that's only because he's hanging out with Smash. I mean, he's QB1, but it's coming from Smash. So that's a great development. The Saracen and Smash bromance. Tim, we see some a lot of softness actually from Tim this episode.
The most human character, I think, on the show.
Yeah.
Tim Riggins.
Yeah, definitely. Where he has been emotionally unavailable in general for the last 4 episodes, for the most part. We see him making a genuine effort to connect with Lila as best as he knows how, asking her about classes, like not that deep. But for Tim, that's legit. Like that's a big deal. And then, finally visiting Jason, his best friend in the rehab center, and tearing up. And them having a moment. So we see Tim as a real feeling human being with emotions. So that's good.
Buddy Garrity, still hate him.
Buddy Garrity's the worst. Like I said, he kind of laid low for a lot of the episode, but he came really over the top at the end. And just laid on the sleaze for sure.
Made sure we didn't forget about him.
We're not forgetting about you, buddy. We know what's going on. We have Coach and Tammy. Coach, we see the conflicted nature of him being a like good, upstanding, moral man and wanting to play Saracen for all the right reasons, but then being put in this tight spot of desperately needing to win. And so feeling like he has to go with Voodoo, but he straight up says, I don't want to go with Voodoo. So we see that spot that he's put in a little bit. And Tammy, we don't get much of her in this episode. Like there's nothing about her being a guidance counselor, I don't think, but
well, we get the scene with her and Lila.
Oh, right. Yeah. She's kind of helping Lila to keep it real, or imploring Lila to keep it real. And she's being the anchor for Coach in the midst of that decision. So that is a big part of who she is, I guess, but not super prominent in this episode. Yeah. Lila is fully embracing like just being over the Jason thing, hooking up with Tim, all of that good stuff. But then on the surface, still putting up the front that it's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. But clearly not believing it anymore.
Mm. Landry doesn't have a whole lot to do in this episode aside from say Yahoo at the pep rally.
Landry has a deleted scene that I will come back to because it is in my quote of the week. I don't think a deleted scene can get quote of the week, but it is that good of a quote that
I'm going to disqualify that right now just because it's not technically canon, but I definitely allow like honorable mentions to be from deleted scenes.
So he did have a scene in the deleted scenes, but we'll come back to that. But Landry's been kind of missing the last couple episodes, which is a shame because he is a highlight of the show.
He's great. Don't worry, he's not going anywhere.
No, not in the slightest. Anyone else that we need to cover?
I think that's everybody really that plays a prominent role in this episode. So we can, I think, move on to our segments.
Yeah, all right. So we will be right back with segments. All right, we are going to move on to our weekly awards. Our Reliving the Lights weekly awards. I just wanted to throw in the title of the podcast there because we actually have one now. So our weekly RTL weekly awards. Let's start out with the Julie Hayden-meter.
Yes. I think it's in the negative again this week.
It is. Very likable.
Yeah.
I like Julie. And I remember this. Like, I remember loving Julie the first season especially. Mm-hmm. And even, as a, 21, 22-year-old guy watching this for the first time, having a little crush on Julie.
Oh, yeah.
And I get it. I get it watching now. So, yeah, I kept a -2, just like last week.
I think that's a good call. So, did I ever tell you about the time? You can cut this, or you can keep it in. I'll leave that up to you.
Okay.
But did I ever tell you about the time that I like drunk tweeted at Amy Teagarden and she tweeted me back?
Man, I feel like I have a vague recollection of this actually, but yeah, do elaborate, please.
I was probably like 22 or 23. I always call 22 my lost year.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I got pretty tuned up and I tweeted at her, and I still remember the exact phrasing I used. It was, "You're a stone cold fox and I'm in love with you."
This had to be in the early days of Twitter too.
Yeah. Right? Oh yeah.
Like very early, where we hadn't actually figured out what Twitter was yet. Yeah. I can talk to a celebrity. Talk to Amy T.
And she tweeted me back, and she was very like cordial about it. Like she was very like, "LOL, thanks," or something like she was like, "Ha ha ha, thank you," or something like that. So it was very, she was very sweet about it. So Amy, if you're listening, and if Josh keeps this in the episode, thank you.
I think we will.
Friend of the show, Amy Teagarden.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I actually tweeted at her. Oh, and the tweet is unavailable. It was from 2011. So I would have been 23 at 2:07 a.m.
Well, shoot. So it's unavailable. So what does that mean? She deleted her account?
So it's weird because you can see the tweet that I sent her, and I replied to her saying, "Kind of digging the fact I can hear Disney World fireworks because I fall asleep going to mix this place. I tweet, you're a stone cold fox. I'm in love with you." But then because you can see that there's a response there, and it's from her.
Yeah.
But when I click on her, the tweet, it says that the original tweet is unavailable, which usually only shows like if the tweet has been deleted. But it's weird that I can see it when I actually search.
Well, I believe you that she responded to you, and that is fantastic. And yeah, in the first season of Friday Night Lights, it is. Yeah, I believe that you were. Well, that's 2011, so you were.
Yeah, the show was it might have been over by then. I stand by what I said.
As you were looking for that tweet, I did look her up on Wikipedia to see how old she was. And she was born in 1989. So that's, just 2 years younger than the two of us. But here's a little tidbit that I found in Wikipedia. On August 24, 2007, during the Miss Teen USA 2007 pageant, Teagarden posed the question. I did not remember that she was.
I totally remember this.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think that is? This led to an infamous reply by contestant Caitlin Upton, whose response was, I remember this. "I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps. And I believe that our education, like such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere like such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa. It should help the Iraq and the Asian countries. So we will be able to build up our future for our children."
I totally remember that. And I totally remember that it was Amy Teagarden.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
I was not aware that was Julie Taylor that asked that question.
I remember that clip going viral. And I remember being like, oh.
I'll have to look that up and see Amy's reaction to that. But that's about all she did other than Friday Night Lights. She was in a Scream movie, I think.
Oh, yeah. She was in Scream 4. She had a very bit part in Scream 4.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's Amy Teagarden for you right there. You have talked to her?
Virtually, yes.
Yeah, which is pretty great. So we are giving her a -2. You feel good about that?
I feel good about it.
I feel good about that.
We maybe should have saved the Julie Taylor hate meter until season 2, but I'm actually glad that we went with it.
Oh yeah,
season 1, just so you can see the growth.
Yep, we can build it up there for sure. Coach, the Coach Taylor inspiring. How inspiring did you find Coach this episode?
I gotta say a strong 6.
Okay.
Nothing he did that was particularly inspiring outside of, like the kind of giving Saracen the ball and his helmet and basically being like, suit up, you're starting, the second half.
Yep.
But it was inspiring to see him so happy and on top of the world with the town loving him again after the last 3 weeks of build up to the Arnett Meade game and and the scumminess that we've seen.
Yeah, I think I'm generally a little tougher on Coach than you, so I gave him a 4 just simply because he didn't really have any speeches. He didn't have any back pocket moves like the midnight practice, which I've thought more about, and I realized that the interview that Smash had that ticked Coach Taylor off so much was on the nightly news, and so
that would have theoretically been 10 p.m.
Yeah, because Texas is in the central time zone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they would have news the same time that we do.
Mm-hmm.
Late night shows start at 10:30, and the news is usually right before that. So that's a little more clue, a little more forensic digging into the time of the late night practice. But anyway, I gave him a 4 for the week. He wasn't not inspiring. He was a good coach, but didn't really.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
So I gave him a 4. You gave him a 6. You good with the 5?
I'm good with me in the middle there. Absolutely.
All right. We will give him a 5. This is our first episode where I don't think we saw Tim Riggins consume a beer.
No, I was really pulling for him to put away a full case by the first 5 episodes, but
no,
alas,
he didn't make it. So no beers for Tim this episode, which I think we are still sitting at what, 20 then?
It's 20 or 21, whatever it was at the end of last episode, okay. Which I don't remember. But I remember thinking he can easily pull off a case by the end of the episode 5. But
yep, no, he didn't do it.
Unfortunately not.
Tim, like we said, got real, got human. We didn't see drunken Tim. We saw real, heartfelt, honest Tim. So a worthy trade. You know, we sacrificed a little bit of the Big Rig beer tally to see more of who Tim actually is as a person. So I'm all right with that. We mentioned the Buddy Garrity Sleazeball Movie of the Week. That definitely comes where he plays dumb with the regulatory guys. And, Coach, I thought we had this all figured out. So that is definitely Buddy Garrity's Sleazeball Movie of the Week. Music cue, anything stand out to you?
Yes, and I don't want to admit it.
Okay.
Because I don't like him as a person. Okay. But this song is a banger.
All right.
Stranglehold by Ted Nugent has a pretty good
no, I'm vetoing
pretty prominent.
Okay,
that's fine.
we will not have any positive Ted Nugent talk.
That's fine.
On this
that's
podcast.
Fine.
It fits. It does fit with like the whole West Texas thing. Like I feel like that's very Ted Nugent. I did not notice it. But yeah, I think we stand against Ted Nugent in this podcast. And yeah, granted, he did have some bangers for sure back in the day. But
there was, Stranglehold and Fred Bear, both bangers, but Uncle Ted is no friend of the show.
No.
Allegedly, there was a cover of One Bourbon, One Scotch, One Beer, which is one of my favorite songs of all time, by George Thorogood. But it says it's by Blind Willie Johnson. I did not pick up on that at all.
No.
I'm okay with calling that the soundtrack cue of the week because that's a great song.
There was the only reason I caught it in this. I guess these episodes tend to have kind of at least one montage-ish sequence of scenes that have a kind of hipsterish song that plays over them, much like Deviltown, which was a great one. Yeah. The only reason I caught this was because it came up on the subtitles, which I watch everything with subtitles because I am old and deaf and bald and stuff. Not that the baldness has anything to do with subtitles, but I'm old. Camera Obscura, Let's Get Out of This Country.
I forgot about that, because that was near the end of the episode, and that is a super good song, and I did actually Shazam that one, and I do like that song. Yeah. I'm good with calling that one the music cue of the week, actually, because that one did actually stand out to me.
Yeah. So, as if it wasn't official already, we are canceling Ted Nugent. We're okay with that. And we're going with Camera Obscura. Let's Get Out of This Country for music cue of the week. That leaves us with quote of the episode.
Yes.
I have 3 nominations. As I mentioned, one of them is from a deleted scene, so it doesn't really count. But Why don't you lead us off? Why don't you lead us off?
I've also got 3. I will start with the one that I mentioned earlier. That's definitely not a winner, but deserves to be mentioned, of Smash saying, "Lila, what about Smash, baby? Don't forget about my boy Matty Saracen."
Yep, and that was actually my first submission as well, was Smash in that same scene that we already mentioned. Hey girl, where are you going? Why don't you come on back here and bless me?
So yes, it's a great one.
That's my first submission. Actually, I have 4. I have 4 submissions.
And I'm looking through the IMDb quotes, and there's some really good ones in here that.
Well, let's hit them all.
Yeah. So another one that I was going to actually use that's in here is Tyra going off about when she's in the Applebee's and she's first helping Connor. And there's like the people going by honking, and he's like, "What's going on out there?" Yeah, and she says, "Just a bunch of overheated jocks, too dumb to know that they have no future, fighting over a game that has no meaning in a town from which there is no escape."
Good. She kind of zones out almost a little bit while she says it, like into rage, basically, against living in a small town. My next one, I honestly can't remember the context of this, but it was Tammy Taylor, Mrs. Coach, just simply tell Buddy Garrity he can shove it. It was kind of a question. Like, that's my
pick for quote of the week, actually.
Okay, all right.
And yeah, it's the way she actually throws an in there. She says, "Yeah, tell Buddy Garrity he can shove it." She really says "shove it" in like all caps.
Yeah, it was delivered well. She really nailed that. Okay, my next submission is the deleted scene submission. It's at the diner. It's inside the diner, and like Smash is sitting in a booth with some girls and with Saracen, and then Landry is standing next to the booth talking to them, and he is just like staring at this girl next to Smash, and she says, "What the hell do you think you're looking at?" And Landry says, I'm just drawn to curves. It's way beyond my control."
That's great.
I'll throw another one in there. Because I feel like a lot of these deleted scenes, as I watch them, they were omitted because of content. They're a little bit racier. Okay. So the same scene, Smash, it opens up and Smash is kind of doing his Smash thing in the booth where he's kind of bragging to whoever will listen to him. And he says, "Smash got the whole game covered. I'm going to bring home that W." And then he turns to the girl and he says, "Then maybe I'll show you the other reason they call me Smash."
I love that.
Yeah. What else you got?
Yeah. So we got, and I kind of mentioned this one, but here's the actual transcript of Coach and Tammy, where Tammy says, "Can I help you make the decision?" Eric Taylor, "Sure, go ahead, make the decision. What's your decision? Make the call." Tammy says, "Start Saracen." Coach says, "Start Saracen. I cannot start Matt Saracen." Tammy says, "Start Voodoo." Coach says, "I don't want to start Voodoo." Tammy says, "Start me." And then he says, "I would love to start you." And then we've got Voodoo's kind of rant to Coach Taylor. He says, "I don't like the food here, the music, the weather. I can definitely do without everybody going on and on about the great state of Texas. I'm here to get noticed, get recruited, and get my ass to LSU. And you just trying to scrape by, trying to win some games, keep your job. You and me are an arranged marriage, nothing more. Now you've seen what I can do. You want to start Saracen, you can go right ahead."
Really, really captures Voodoo there. That's good.
And then we've got the Mac McGill quote.
Mm-hmm.
Coach kind of calls him out about copying the playbook, and Mac says, "You think I want your job, right? Well, you're damn right I do. Because the way I see it, you're sitting in my chair, but I'll never do anything to hurt these kids. I want to win just like you do. They're my boys too. So you pull it together. Got me?"
Yeah, super tense with Mac and Coach there.
And then we've got Smash's pep rally rap, which you've already gone through. And Tammy Taylor's "Tell Buddy Garrity he can shove it," which once again is my choice for quote of the week.
Yeah. I have one more that I was going to nominate as my pick, but in retrospect, I like the Buddy Garrity can shove it one, but the other one that I really enjoyed was from Herc, and he is telling Phil that he needs to get Jason to the next quad rugby game, and Phil says something along the lines of, I can't authorize that. And Herc says, authorize this, Phil, and then does a crotch chop. Which struck me just perfect because I'm currently watching through 1998 Monday Night Raws from WrestleMania 14 up, and I'm gonna watch through till 15 because that's where I was watching through WrestleManias, and I'm like, oh, this is too good. I need to dig in and like actually watch the progression.
And you picked a great time because that would have been around the time that I started watching. On my first run was like July of 98. So
nice.
Like there's a magic in that.
Yes. So Degeneration X is, we just lost Shawn Michaels, but Triple H is taking over and there are crotch chops galore. That is like and people just eat it up like every time. Yeah. So I really appreciated Herc's authorize this Phil crotch chop. So that was what I was going to say was my main pick, but tell Buddy Garrity he can shove it is I think our quote of the week, if you're good with that.
Absolutely, I am.
Okay, great. I knew we'd get some wrestling talk in there somewhere.
Oh yeah.
It happened.
The first, but it will likely not be the last.
No, I hope not. Okay, that brings us to just the overall rating for the episode.
Yeah.
I'm curious what you thought overall.
I like this episode, just like I like all of season 1.
Yep.
I think this episode's a strong 6 to a light 7.
Ooh, I came in higher than you on this one. I am consistently lower on the Coach Taylor Inspo rating and consistently higher on the episode rating, I feel like. But I came in with an 8 on this one. I thought it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed how all of the storylines are kind of spreading out a little bit. At the beginning, it's Jason is injured, and that's the main thing. But now everybody's kind of getting their own thing. So I said an 8. So I think, do we just go with a 7 then?
I can dig that, yeah.
All right. So this week, Git'er done. Oof. Gets a 7. On IMDb, this actually was the highest rated episode other than the pilot so far with a 7.9. Previous episodes coming in at like a 7.6 and a 7.7, kind of right in there. So people like this episode.
Certainly got egg on my face with that one, I guess.
No, I think we're right in the right ballpark there. So that's it. That's Git'er done. Any other parting words here before we call it an episode?
I think that's all I got.
Yeah. All right. So we got episode 6 coming up in real time. The podcast will be releasing tomorrow. Obviously, if you're listening to this is like a month later. But what are you feeling the night before we send this out into the world?
I'm excited. I hope that we gain an audience. Honestly, if we don't, I'm having so much fun recording and watching through the show anyway that
we're good.
I have no intention of stopping, even if we have 0 listeners. So
yeah, absolutely. We were talking kind of off mic about how it'd be super nice if this was on Netflix, so it would make it easy for people to watch along. However, if you are wanting to watch along, this is on IMDb TV, which is out there for free. There are ads, but if you are wanting to give this another watch, or maybe for the first time give it a watch, you can go to IMDb and find it on their streaming service. So check it out if you haven't already. Also, I have the DVDs, so if you're in Sioux Center or Orange City, I can hook you up.
So you can also get the complete series on DVD from Amazon for $40. Not a bad investment.
That is a very good price. So maybe you should just do that. If you still
we don't support corporations on the show. Amazon is no friend of the show nor a sponsor, but if you're in a bind, that's a good move to make.
Amazon and Ted Nugent. Neither one are friends of the show, but
we acknowledge their existence.
But, yes. The other option, maybe your parents have satellite TV and they have Stars. It is on Stars right now, so you could go with that. You could get a free trial of Stars for a month, and recently, which is what I have right now, you got 3 free Redbox codes with a free month of Stars. So you could binge hard, and there's 23. I think there is just 23 episodes in the first season. In a month, one a day, you can knock out the first season full free.
Oh, yeah.
So get out there, find Friday Night Lights. Obviously, we think it is worth getting out there and getting after it and watching it.
I've actually I've been meaning to mention this. My season 1 DVD, which I've been watching through. I don't know if you have the same. I don't know if it's the same pressing or whatever. But it's actually got a promo for season 2 in it. Like one of a little card, and it's like the perfect night for the new season. And it's like season 2 Friday nights on NBC starting this fall, which is like traditionally a death slot. Like really? Friday night. Friday night is not a. That's basically like, nobody's watching this.
Nobody's at home watching TV. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. But hopefully you're listening to podcasts on Fridays or
whenever.
Yeah, right. I think we're planning on releasing on Fridays, but
yes, but you can listen to it whenever.
Anytime. It's the beauty of a podcast.
As soon as we release it, you can. It's on your time.
It's there for you. I'm not sure if you all are aware of how podcasts work, but whenever you want. So, thanks for listening along with us so far. That was episode 5. Excited to hit up episode 6. Check us out. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. So
if you're friends with either of us on any social media, you'll also probably see us plugging it. So you'll be able to find it from just searching. You obviously found it somehow if you're listening to this. But.
Right. Enjoyed our time tonight, Anthony. Thank you for talking Friday Night Lights with me, and we will catch you for episode 6.
We out.
Let's touch God this time, boys. Let's touch God.